There are moments in life when you begin to wonder whether the invisible processes you have set into motion are actually unfolding in your favor. You close your eyes, you imagine the scene, you feel it real, and yet the physical world sometimes appears still and unmoved. And in that tension, doubt begins to creep in, whispering that perhaps nothing is happening. But the truth is that manifestation is always alive beneath the surface, and there are subtle signs that reveal it is already working through you, weaving circumstances, aligning people, and bending reality to the pattern of your inner state. To understand these hidden signs is to anchor yourself more deeply in faith, because what you are imagining is not an idle dream, but the seed of destiny. And like every seed, it germinates quietly before it breaks the soil. One of the first secret indications that your desire is already on its way is the shift within your own inner dialogue. Notice carefully how you speak to yourself when no one is listening. The world you experience outwardly is a direct reflection of the conversations you are holding inwardly. And when those conversations begin to change, when you find yourself naturally leaning toward imagining what you want as though it has already happened, you are witnessing the evidence that the unseen has taken root. You no longer argue against your own desire. You find yourself walking through your day with flashes of acceptance, moments where you almost forget to desire because you feel the quiet satisfaction of already having it. That is the first sign. The soft transformation of self-talk, the quiet current beneath the surface that reveals you are no longer the same as before. The old thoughts no longer grip you with the same force. The new assumptions feel more natural, almost as if they have been there all along. That is creation in motion. The second hidden sign comes in the form of strange coincidences and symbolic echoes in the outer world. You may be thinking of love, and suddenly you overhear two strangers discussing the very subject in a way that mirrors your desire. You may be dreaming of wealth, and suddenly numbers, symbols, or phrases related to abundance appear repeatedly in your environment. Some call them synchronicities, but in truth they are nothing more than the shadow of your own inner state being cast upon the external world. These signs do not arrive to give you something new. They arrive because your mind is now tuned to the frequency of your desire. Just as a radio only picks up the station it is set upon, your consciousness begins to register echoes of what you have accepted within. You see feathers if you believe in signs of angels. You hear names if you are calling someone into your life. You stumble upon opportunities that seem to point exactly toward the direction you are moving. These are not accidents. They are the outpicturing of the assumption you have dared to hold. The third hidden sign is the peculiar calm that overtakes you. This may feel unsettling at first because you expect manifestation to be filled with excitement and heightened emotion. Yet often, once the seed has been planted, the soil of consciousness grows still. You no longer feel the frantic urgency to strive or to chase because somewhere deep inside you know it is done. This peace is not indifference. It is the very assurance of faith. You may notice that the very things that used to trigger anxiety or longing no longer have power over you. You find yourself walking through moments that once would have stirred impatience, and instead you feel a curious detachment, as though the outcome is already secured. That stillness is a sign that you have shifted. Desire in its purest form is no longer a desperate reaching, but a serene knowing, and the silence within you is the voice of manifestation announcing itself. Another subtle, yet powerful sign is the reaction of others. You may not say a word about what you are imagining, yet people around you begin to respond differently. They sense the change in your energy, they speak words that seem to confirm your assumption, or they treat you in alignment with the version of yourself you have claimed. It is as though the world itself is compelled to reflect back the image you carry of yourself in imagination. A friend may mention an opportunity that aligns with your goal. A loved one may treat you with the affection you have been embodying inwardly, or even strangers may mirror your state by acting in accordance with what you have assumed. These reactions are not random. They are the play of consciousness. Every being is but yourself, pushed out. So when you shift inwardly, the ripple touches every character in your story, drawing them into the drama you have authored. And then there is perhaps the most overlooked sign, the dream state. Many dismiss dreams as random, yet they are the language of the subconscious, the arena where your assumptions reveal themselves. When you find yourself dreaming of the fulfillment of your desire, or encountering symbols that point directly to it, you are witnessing the subconscious mind embracing the new reality. Sometimes the dream is literal, and you experience exactly what you have imagined. Other times it is symbolic, and you see yourself receiving gifts, entering new houses, wearing new clothes, or experiencing scenarios that mirror the essence of your desire. These are not idle fantasies. They are glimpses of the reality forming. For the subconscious does not argue, it simply accepts what has been impressed upon it, and it reveals its acceptance through the realm of dreams. When such dreams arise, take them not as predictions, but as confirmations that the new state has taken root and is now flowering within. Then the new state has taken root, but it's come by faith. Come by faith. These 5 hidden signs, though subtle, are unmistakable once you attune yourself to them. Yet they are not to be chased or demanded, they are to be recognized. If you go looking for signs with desperation, you reveal that you doubt the process. But if you notice them with calm acknowledgement, you strengthen your faith. Manifestation is not about effort, it is about alignment. This shift in inner dialogue, the outer synchronicities, the calm detachment, the reactions of others, and the dreams that speak the language of your subconscious are the quiet indicators that your imagination is already doing its perfect work. And once you see these signs, resist the urge to dig up the seed by questioning when or how it will appear. Let the seed grow in silence. Let the roots strengthen unseen, and know that what you have dared to imagine must inevitably harden into fact. Understand that the world you see is but the crystallization of states of consciousness. And the moment you enter a new state, the universe bends to shape itself around you. These hidden signs are the whispers of the universe telling you it is already yours. When your inner speech shifts, when the outer world begins to echo your desire, when peace replaces striving, when others unconsciously align with your new identity, and when your dreams reveal the acceptance of the subconscious, you can rest assured that the law is already at work. Do not measure by appearances. Measure by the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Appearances may linger for a time, but they are powerless before the momentum of assumption. Your task is not to force, but to persist, not to chase, but to remain in the knowing that it is done. When you grasp this truth, you live as though the promise has already been kept. You no longer walk through life asking when, but instead you walk with the quiet authority of one who knows. And from that state, creation unfolds naturally, effortlessly, inevitably. For the unseen is the reality, and what you have accepted within will call forth the outer arrangement, whether through coincidence, conversation, opportunity, or even seeming accidents. But nothing is an accident. It is all law. It is all the reflection of your state. And so when these signs appear, do not dismiss them. Recognize them as the assurance that the harvest is near, that what you have believed has already become. So stand firm in the unseen, trust the invisible process, and know that the moment you dared to imagine, creation was complete. You are only waiting for the shadow to catch up with the light, for the visible to catch up with the invisible. And until it does, take comfort in the subtle signs, for they are the gentle hand of the universe reminding you, you have already become what you sought. The world will prove it. The law cannot fail. What you imagine with conviction must take form. Look for the hidden signs, but above all, dwell in the knowing. For knowing itself is the greatest sign of all. There is a great mystery hidden in the silence of imagination. And when you enter into the state of your wish fulfilled, You begin to notice how reality itself bends around your assumptions. You might wake up one morning and feel an unusual lightness, as though the burden of waiting has been lifted. That is not because the world outside has changed yet, but because your inner being has already accepted the new reality. And when acceptance has taken hold, the outer must conform. Many people mistake the lingering appearance of old conditions as proof that nothing is happening, but those appearances are merely echoes of yesterday's assumptions. The present moment, what you are assuming now, is what will mold tomorrow. So the question is not whether your desire will manifest, but whether you are holding steadfastly to the state of already having it. What fascinates me is how subtle the process can appear to the logical mind. You may imagine wealth, and though no sudden deposit enters your bank account today, you find your conversations, your opportunities, your very mood around money shifting in ways that open new paths. You may imagine love, and though the person is not yet by your side, you begin to feel their presence so vividly within that your behavior changes. You smile more, you carry yourself differently, you speak with the confidence of someone already cherished. These changes are not small. They are the very signs that the unseen is taking form. For consciousness is the only cause, and when consciousness changes, the world must follow. The signs are always there for the one who sees with the inner eye. Another hidden sign often overlooked is resistance rising just before breakthrough. Have you noticed how at times when you assume your desire fulfilled, suddenly the old state seems to attack you with intensity? Doubts grow louder, circumstances appear more contrary, people behave in ways that challenge your assumption. Many misinterpret this as failure, but in truth, it is the final flare of the old state before it dissolves. Like shadows growing long just before the setting of the sun, resistance is not the denial of your manifestation, but the very confirmation that the shift has already taken place. When you hold firm during these moments and refuse to abandon your inner knowing, you discover that the storm gives way to calm, and the manifestation arrives as if it had been inevitable all along. This is why perseverance is so essential. Not striving, but unwavering faith. And here lies another sign: your own inability to return fully to the old way of being. Even if you try, something within you resists the attempt to think small again. You might attempt to doubt, but the doubt feels weaker, less convincing than before. You might revisit old fears, but they no longer have the same grip. This is the mark of transformation. Once the seed of assumption is planted deeply enough, the old self loses its authority. You cannot truly believe what you once believed. That inner shift is the true manifestation, for the outer world is merely the mirror. When you realize you cannot go back, that you are changed permanently, you can rest. Because the world must eventually reveal the change in form. Telepathy plays a role in this as well, though many do not recognize it. When you hold someone in imagination, when you speak to them inwardly as though they were already aligned with your desire, something in them responds. You may not see it immediately, but they begin to think thoughts, feel urges, and take actions consistent with the image you hold of them. This is why your inner conversations are sacred. They are the invisible threads that pull others into the drama you have authored. And when you notice a person suddenly reaching out or behaving in ways you silently assumed, that is one of the strongest signs that your manifestation is already alive. For there is no separation between minds. We are all participants in the one consciousness, and your assumption is the command that the world obeys. Notice also how your imagination begins to feel more real than the physical facts. At times you close your eyes and the scene within feels so natural, so alive that you forget which is dream and which is waking. That saturation of imagination is not fantasy, it is reality itself, for reality begins in consciousness. When the imagined scene feels more vivid than the current circumstances, you have entered the true state. and the outer world has no choice but to conform. This inner vividness, this deep immersion in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is a hidden sign that the creative act is complete. What remains is the natural flow of events, bringing the invisible into visibility. Now, the impatient mind might say, "But where is it? Why has it not arrived yet?" That very question reveals the state of not having, the very denial of the wish fulfilled. The wise, however, observe the hidden signs and rest in the knowing. They recognize that once the inner speech is changed, once synchronicities echo back their desire, once peace is settled in, once others reflect the new state, once dreams confirm acceptance, and once the old state loses its grip, then the manifestation is not a matter of if, but only of when. And even the when is irrelevant, because in consciousness it is already now. To live in this awareness is to live as the master of your fate. You no longer allow appearances to dictate your fate. Instead, you allow faith to dictate appearances. And the universe cannot resist such conviction. It is compelled by law to bring forth that which has been assumed. Remember always that imagination is not idle. It is the very power that shapes existence. Every hidden sign is a gentle reminder of this truth. The shift within you is the reality. The world merely catches up. So when you notice your inner dialogue favoring the new story, when you see symbols aligning, when peace replaces longing, when others unconsciously conform, when your dreams whisper confirmation, when resistance flares as a final test, when the old state feels impossible to return to, and when imagination feels more real than fact, know then that the work is done. Your manifestation is not on its way, it is here, unfolding in perfect sequence. Rest in that, and let the world reveal what you already are. The more deeply you immerse yourself in the feeling of already having what you desire, the more naturally life arranges itself to accommodate that assumption. You may notice conversations steering in unexpected directions that validate your inner state. You may find yourself drawn to places, ideas, or opportunities that seem to carry you directly toward your manifestation, yet you cannot trace any logical path as to how it all connects. This is one of the greatest signs that life begins to feel orchestrated, not by effort, but by an unseen harmony. Events line up with such precision that you realize something greater is at play, and that greater force is nothing other than your own consciousness guiding the way. The hidden beauty of manifestation is that it requires no strain. It does not ask you to push the river. It asks you to flow with it. Once you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are moved, often unconsciously, to think, speak, and act in accordance with it. And just as naturally, others respond. Opportunities present themselves and circumstances adjust. His flow is subtle but unmistakable once you recognize it. You begin to realize that what you once called coincidence is in fact creation. What you once dismissed as chance is the evidence of your assumption in motion. And when you notice that life is no longer random but patterned according to your inner reality, that is the assurance that your manifestation is already here. There is another layer to these signs, one that reveals itself through your emotional state. Before, when you were desperate for the outcome, your emotions fluctuated wildly. You swung from hope to despair, from faith to fear, depending on the evidence your senses reported. But once your desire has been accepted as real within, there is a steadiness that settles into your heart. Even if challenges arise, they do not shake you as before. You may feel momentary doubt, but beneath it there is a deeper knowing that steadies you, like an anchor in a storm. This emotional consistency is a hidden sign of manifestations unfolding. You are no longer moved about by appearances, because you know the unseen is already done. At times you may even find yourself forgetting about your desire altogether, only to remember it later and smile, because it feels so natural that you almost take it for granted. That is not neglect, that is ownership. When you no longer obsess over whether it will happen, it means you have accepted it as fact. Just as you do not wake each day and question whether the sun will rise, so too do you not question whether your manifestation is yours. This ease is one of the clearest signals that the process is complete. For desire fulfilled does not demand attention, it simply exists. It is also worth noting the way others begin to perceive you. Without knowing why, they may comment that you seem different, that your energy feels lighter, that your confidence has grown. They may treat you as though you already possess the thing you have assumed. This is not their independent decision. It is the inevitable reflection of your state. Others cannot help but respond to the vibration you carry. If you assume wealth, they treat you as one of substance. If you assume love, they treat you with affection. If you assume success, they speak to you as though your achievements are expected. These responses are not flattering. They are signs that your assumption has become the law of your being, and the world is compelled to mirror it. And notice how, in this process, time itself begins to feel different. The waiting no longer feels like waiting. Days pass more smoothly because your attention is not fixed on the lack but on the certainty of fulfillment. You are no longer measuring each moment against your desire. Instead, you live as though it is already secured. This change in your relationship with time is a profound sign that you are aligned with the end. For the one who knows does not count days. They live in the reality of the wish fulfilled, and time bends to reveal it in perfect sequence. Telepathic connections often grow stronger as well. You may sense the thoughts, emotions, or actions of others before they reveal them outwardly. You may think of someone and suddenly they call or message. You may feel the presence of your specific person so vividly that it seems they are beside you, even if miles apart. This merging of minds is not imagination alone. It is the law at work. When you hold someone in consciousness, they cannot escape the influence of your assumption, and they are drawn, sometimes without knowing why, into the orbit of the reality you have claimed. This invisible pull is another sign that your manifestation has already been set in motion. For consciousness communicates beyond words and distance. Dreams may intensify during this stage, and you may notice recurring symbols that point directly to your desire. Doors opening, gifts being offered, journeys beginning. These are the subconscious revealing that the new state has been accepted. Pay attention not with anxiety but with gratitude, for each dream is a glimpse into the creative process underway. It is the evidence that the subconscious, the true creator, has embraced your assumption and is weaving it into your world. Ultimately, all these signs, whether inner dialogue shifting, outer echoes appearing, calmness replacing urgency, others reacting differently, dreams confirming, resistance flaring, old states dissolving, imagination feeling more real than fact, or the telepathic bonds strengthening, are but reflections of one truth. You have entered the state of the wish fulfilled. The signs are not separate from the manifestation. They are the manifestation in its earliest form. To see them is to know that creation is already accomplished. And so, rest in these confirmations. Do not grasp at them or fear their absence. Recognize them when they come, and let them reassure you that the unseen is unfolding with perfect precision. The law is faithful and it cannot fail. What you have accepted within must